Welcome to Pod Save America. I'm Jon Favreau.
I'm Jon Lovett.
I'm Tommy Vietor.
On today's pod, White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain joins to talk about the president's new vaccine requirements. Republican politicians lose their shit over Biden's announcement, and Donald Trump commemorates 9/11 by skipping the memorial ceremony, hinting that he's planning to run for president again, and doing color commentary at a pay-per-view boxing match in Florida. All right, let's get to the news. President Biden has launched a new front in the war against COVID-19 by announcing a vaccine requirement that will apply to roughly 17 million healthcare workers, most federal workers, federal contractors, and all private sector businesses with 100 or more employees, though those employees can also submit to weekly testing if they choose not to get vaccinated. The president also announced that employers will be required to give employees paid time off to get vaccinated, and that major retailers will now be selling home testing kits at a much cheaper price. Here to talk more about this, as well as a few other things the Biden administration has going on in September, White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain. Ron, welcome back to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
So, 1,600 people are currently dying every day on average, the vast majority of whom are unvaccinated. Were you surprised at all by how quickly the debate turned to questions around tone and potential political backlash over the mandate as opposed to the impact of the policy itself?
No, look, I think the president said in his remarks that we've seen pandemic politics in the United States, people trying to politicize what should be a science-based, evidence-based approach to fighting this pandemic. We've seen governors threatening to cut the salaries of school administrators if they require kids to wear masks. We've seen governors trying to fight efforts to promote vaccination in their state. So look, the political backlash is something we expected. But the president's doing the right thing. It is time to put this pandemic behind us. It's time to get the rest of the country vaccinated and to enable everyone to go back to kind of a more normal way of life. And the only way to do that is to really put on these kinds of requirements to raise the share of the country that's vaccinated. When we came here in January, we launched an unprecedented program to make the vaccine free, safe, and available. Available at 80,000 sites. People have had 5 months, 80,000 places. For 90% of Americans, it's within a 5-minute drive of their homes. And still have more than 75 million Americans who haven't even gotten the first shot. That's something we needed to address. And that's what the president's plan does.
How confident are you that what the president announced on Thursday will survive these Republican legal challenges?
Well, I'm very confident. I mean, first of all, you and John went through the list. The requirement that federal employees be vaccinated is clearly within his authority. The requirement that federal contractors also clearly within his authority. These requirements on various healthcare facilities come from the ability of Medicare and Medicaid to regulate the facilities where they get the vaccines. The one that I know people have debated the most is this requirement to use the Occupational Safety and Health Administration's ability to regulate workplace safety to impose this vaccine or test requirement. And I think what the lawyers have told us is that it's a very standard application, essentially, of OSHA's authority to protect the workplace. OSHA tells you if you're working on a construction site, you got to wear a hard hat. They tell you if you're working around noxious chemicals, you got to wear a respirator mask. Well, we're in a pandemic right now, and to keep workers safe, to keep people in the workplace safe, requiring vaccinations is part of OSHA's mandate, part of OSHA's responsibility to keep people safe on the job.
Dr. Fauci just said in an interview that he supports vaccine requirements for air travel. Polls show that around 60% of Americans agree with him. Have you guys been discussing either a vax requirement or a vax or test requirement for air travel?
As Jeff Zients said recently, it's something we continue to look at. We want to kind of weigh the number of people that these requirements get vaccinated versus the burden on the vaccinated, having to show proof every time you go onto an airplane, having to wait at longer lines in TSA. But I think it's something we'll look at as we continue to progress. We think the most efficient vaccine requirements are ones where people are kind of in a permanent situation, on the job, in the military, where they verify once and then they're verified in that scenario. We think we're going to pick up the vast majority of Americans with the requirements we've put in place. About 2/3 of people who work in the workplace will be subject to these requirements of either vaccination or testing. But look, I think we'll continue to look at other measures to be taken if we need to take them.
I am officially confused about this debate over boosters. There's a report out this morning authored by 18 scientists, including 2 who are leaving the FDA, that says none of the data so far provides credible evidence in support of boosters for the general population. Doesn't the CDC's own data and the data out of Israel contradict this?
Well, John, I'm not going to debate the scientists about the science. What I'll say is this. We're going to let the FDA and the CDC sort this out. They have a big advisory committee meeting, I think at the end of this week or early next week. They'll make a decision about who needs boosters, when they need boosters, under what conditions they need boosters, whether that's the general public or just older people, in what age groups. In Israel, they've been going down from the oldest citizens, gradually down to lower age groups. We're going to let the regulators decide that. What we've done at the White House is do 2 things. First, we've bought the boosters, so we're ready to go whenever the regulators give approval, and we've set up a distribution system. So what'll be very different than back in December when vaccines were first approved and the FDA said, yes, go on vaccines, but you couldn't get a vaccination. You didn't know where to get a vaccination. You had to wait weeks or months to get a vaccination. This time, whatever the experts decide are needed on boosters, they will be available immediately within 24 hours to whomever is authorized to get them through a massive network of retail distribution.
There have been a few moments where it seems that the administration and the CDC have not been necessarily at odds, but have been communicating differently about the threat, whether it's the contagiousness of vaccinated people, the need for masks. Have you been frustrated personally in your role at times by the way in which the CDC has communicated information to the public?
Look, I get that it's frustrating for people who you hear something from the CDC, then the facts or science changes and the message changes. But that is what science-based response to an epidemic means. The CDC reacts to new research, new science, and new developments in the pandemic. They react to new information as the variant and the virus changes. And I know we all wish, and as a human being, I wish that there would just be, one set of scientific research. It would be clear cut. It would be completely black and white. We would know the answer. The answers would never change. We'd never learn anything different. That would obviously make life easier. And for me, as a policymaker, it would make policy easier and explaining policy. But what we're committed to is to having the CDC determine the science and changing our policies and our approaches as that scientific information changes. And that's what we've seen over the course of this year. That's what we're doing. And I think the public can have confidence in that we're going to do whatever the best science tells us to do as the science and information develops and as this virus changes.
Public health experts say that Delta means we have to learn to permanently live with COVID-19 as an endemic virus. What does the White House think about that, and what does that look like for people?
Well, John, I don't know what that's going to look like if that's the outcome here. I think what we know we need to do right now is to reduce the number of cases, reduce the number of deaths, reduce the number of hospitalizations by getting the rate of vaccination up, by having people wear masks where they need to wear masks, by protecting our kids in schools, by getting the schools open, full time, and doing all those things. I don't know what the end game is. I don't know how many cases of COVID we'll have after we do all that, but we need to do the work we need to do right now, which is to get that vaccination rate up and to move to where we can bring down the number of cases, number of hospitalizations, the number of deaths.
Aside from COVID, you guys have a couple other things on your plate this month. Rolling Stone just reported that the president assured Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi that he's ready to push for filibuster reform to pass voting rights legislation. This is near and dear to our hearts. Is that report true?
I'm not going to comment on his private conversations with the leadership of the House and the Senate. Look, I think on voting rights, what we're really looking for is first for there to be an agreement among the key Democratic senators, the so-called Gang of Eight that's been meeting to try to work out a compromise version of H.R. 1, S1, to try to bring the For the People Act back before the Democratic caucus and get support. That's the next step in the process. We're going to take this one step at a time.
Has the president's position on filibuster reform with regards to voting rights changed at all?
I'm just not going to get into that, John. The next step in this process is to get a plan that 50 Democrats are for. Once we get there, we'll go from there.
I tried.
You tried.
I
Couldn't
tried.
get 'em.
What can I do?
So in negotiations over I'm going to call it the Build Back Better bill, because I don't know whether to call it an infrastructure bill, a jobs bill, a social safety net bill. We could use a shorthand, not your biggest problem. We've seen some versions are circulating that push prescription drugs to 2025, that push the, say, dental provisions for Medicare to 2028. Mike Donnellan, your colleague, gave an interview talking about something that's been clear from the beginning, this effort to do things big and fast so people really can see a difference in their lives in 2022 and 2024. How do you balance that with these negotiations over price to make the math work and to get some of these moderates on board?
Well, look, I think we can put together a very strong package. It has broad support among Democrats. I wish some Republicans would join us in the effort to cut the cost of child care, cut the cost of elder care, bring down the cost of prescription drugs. But if they won't, we're going to proceed with Democratic majorities in the House and the Senate to get that done. Now, we're a Democratic party. A lot of people have different views inside our party. I think ultimately we can come together and put together a package that does all these things. We're going to have to find a way to balance all that inside the cost envelope we have, inside the ability to pay for it. But I think we can make significant, historic progress on the key goals of this bill, as well as the critical goal of fighting climate change by making the investments we need, particularly in clean energy tax credits and other measures that will help put us on the track to a clean energy future. It'll create a lot of jobs. It'll combat climate change. It'll make us all healthier.
How confident are you that some kind of clean energy standard will end up in the bill, and how important is that to you guys?
I think all of it's important. And look, I'm fairly confident we can find a formula that works for our Democrats. I'm confident that we can put it together with other things around it. And fighting climate change is a critical part of this legislation. It's one of the four main crises President Biden was elected to address. And we see that passing this Build Back Better measure with very strong climate change measures is a really critical objective for our administration.
So, Ron, I have these two friends. I'm trying to plan a trip with them, and I promised one of them that the trip would cost $1,500, and I promised the other friend it would cost $3,500. Do you have any advice on what I should tell them to get them both to go on the trip?
Well, actually, I think that's a great question, because what I would tell them both is, let's find common objectives on where you want to go, how much fun you want to have when you get there, what you want to do, what it's going to be like. And I think that's a lot less about the price tag of the trip and more about the right objectives, the right goals, and the right kinds of activities for that trip. And that's really, all kidding aside, what we're talking about here. Whatever the final price tag of this winds up being, what it has to do is meet the moment on the problems we have as a country in terms of things like childcare and elder care, housing, those kinds of things, the critical crisis of combating climate change, providing some relief to middle-class families who deserve to have their taxes cut, and that it be paid for by finally doing something about tax reform, long overdue, to raise taxes on those at the high end of the scale, to raise taxes on big corporations that are paying no taxes at all. That's the critical objective. I mean, in the end, what I'd say is, this is where I have to break your metaphor, John. Look, the cost of this should be zero. It should be zero, because we should be able to make the tax system fair enough to pay for the help that we need to deliver on climate change and help families dealing with the expenses they're dealing with in this country.
One last question for you. What's the vibe like on the Joe Manchin houseboat? What's the food situation? Talk to us about the water pressure. What is it like when he's entertaining?
I had a lovely dinner with Senator Manchin. We had a great evening. He served Italian food. It was delicious. Look, I enjoy every conversation I have with Senator Manchin. We have different perspectives and different points of view, but he wants to do the right thing for the country, for his state. We are working with him very hard. I have a great deal of respect for him. Again, we have our differences. There's no question about it. But he's been a great partner and ally of our administration. Played a critical role in delivering the rescue plan. He's played a critical role in getting us this far. We're going to work with him going forward.
But you guys, people probably don't get this always from reading the coverage. You guys and Manchin and Bernie, you're all talking behind the scenes all the time, right? It's not just like communication with each other via op-ed in the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, I mean, John, you worked at the White House. You know what this is like, which is I have phone calls almost every day with one or more of those individuals, whether that's Senator Sanders or Senator Manchin or Senator Warren or Senator Schumer or Senator Whitehouse or Senator Schatz or Senator Brown. You can go down the line, right? And obviously a lot of people in the House as well. And so I think that this is an ongoing conversation. I think I understand why the press focuses on the differences, and there are differences, and there's no doubt about those differences. But what we're having a conversation among people who all think we need to do something about childcare, who all think we need to do something about prescription drugs, who all think we need to do something about elder care, climate change, all these things. And the difference in American politics is not among those people. The difference is between those people and a political party that's practicing climate denial, that doesn't want to do anything about these critical challenges. That is the fundamental difference in American politics. It's not between these different variations of how Democrats want to tackle it, but between Democrats who are working to come together on a plan to tackle these problems and Republicans who right now, and I fear it will not change, all to a person are saying they're going to vote no.
Very much agreed.
And you stand by saying that you enjoy every single conversation with Joe Manchin. I'm kidding. don't have to respond to that.
I do. Look, that's my job, and I like it. I really do love it.
Ron, thank you so much for joining Pod Save America. Please come back again soon. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Take care. The presenting sponsor of this episode of Pod Save America is Simply Safe. There's a lot of weird, scary shit going on in the world right now. Talk about some weird things that have happened around your home lately. Nothing. My home is fine. Everything's been very normal around my home. Lovett's got some bears running around his home. That's from an earlier ad in a different podcast.
We watched Only Murders in the Building, so that
Same.
Hannah and I are looking for crimes that could be happening.
You don't live in a building.
Well, I know. I'm just trying to make it applicable.
Hey, it's a great show.
Get a Simply Safe. It's a good system.
Yeah, clearly no one had Simply Safe in that show.
Yeah, if they had a cam,
maybe we wouldn't have that
solved.
show. Yeah, it would have been a boring show. But
like
anyway.
that. But Steve Martin, delightful.
Selena Gomez, delightful.
He's
Martin
like
Short, delightful.
You know that Steve Martin's like a world-class banjo player?
Yeah, we know Steve Martin's a banjo. We were just discovering. You're like,
I like him.
Have you heard of Led Zeppelin?
I want to hang out with Steve Martin. I also wanted to hang out with Leslie Nielsen. It's like movies I loved when I was a kid. You know, The Jerk, Naked
loved
Gun.
all the Naked Gun movies.
Anyway, Simply Safe.
Anyway, don't you wish you could just have a magic set of binoculars posted up on your house to see it all and make sure it doesn't get too close?
Perv.
Well, if you said yes to that question, get ready, because that's exactly what Simply Safe is trying to do with the launch of their brand new wireless outdoor security camera. Trying to announce that like I was on The Price is Right.
Did like that.
Keep that weird, scary shit away from your family and your property. Simply Safe, the system that U.S. News and World Report names Best Home Security System of 2021, just got even better. This brand new outdoor security camera is engineered with all the advanced tech and security features you want and need to help keep you and your family safe. It has an ultra-wide 140-degree field of view so you can keep watch over your entire yard. It has 1080p HD resolution with an 8x zoom. That means you can zoom in and clearly see things like faces and license plates to capture critical evidence, like you're a gumshoe. This camera has it all, and it integrates with your Simply Safe home security system, extending its protection to the outside. Together, it means every door, window, and room are protected, and now your property will be too.
Sherlock Holmes in the case of who took my Crocs off my porch while I was at work.
Do you have Crocs?
That's
No.
terrible. Lovett has Crocs. Pass it on.
Crocs.
To learn more about the exciting new Simply Safe wireless outdoor security camera, visit simplysafe.com/crooked. Simply Safe is offering 20% off your entire new system and your first month of monitoring service
Crocs
free.
are having a renaissance.
Why wouldn't I wear Crocs, actually? I
Well,
don't.
They look awful,
Yeah, do they?
but they're supposed to be comfortable.
A lot of
But
stuff.
they're kind of like ugly in. You know, like 90s jeans are now
Yeah.
in LA
Man,
for the last couple of years.
we are not cool. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm gonna
mean-
stop here because I get myself in trouble.
John only wears pleated khakis. Okay.
That is an outrage. I would never put pleats in those fucking khakis. Not that I even wear khakis anymore. I
think
barely wear
pleats are fine.
pants. I
What's
barely wear pants.
I'm wearing sweats right now.
What is this about?
Buy a
This is
Simply
Simply
Safe. I
Safe.
have a Simply Safe system. You should get a Simply Safe system. You put a security system on your house. I'm very happy that you did. I endorse Simply Safe.
Simply Safe is offering 20% off your entire new system and your first month of monitoring service free when you enroll in interactive monitoring. Again, that's simplysafe.com/crooked. Pod Save America is brought to you by Helix. My in-laws have had their Helix for almost a year now, and they are obsessed with it. They think it's the best mattress they've ever had. Father-in-law had some back issues. He feels like he's feeling better because of the Helix mattress.
It's a miracle cure.
It's a miracle cure. It's a wonderful mattress, and you're gonna love it. Everybody's unique, and Helix knows that. So they got several different mattress models for you to choose from. Soft, medium, firm. Mattress is great for cooling you down if you sleep hot. Mattress is great for spinal alignment to prevent morning aches and pains, and even a Helix Plus mattress for plus-size sleepers. Lovett, who's sitting right here, also took the Helix quiz, and he was matched with the Midnight mattress because he wanted something that felt
firm,
and he sleeps on his
stomach.
There you go.
Stomach.
I just wanted to make sure we're all paying attention, you know?
Yeah.
Add any natural endorsement here that just might come to you.
It's a really comfortable mattress. You'll love it, and you'll sleep on it, and then you'll wake up in the morning, you'll think, oh, wow, what a good night's rest. I didn't have nearly the same number of terrifying dreams per usual, thanks to this mattress. I suddenly wasn't in some sort of doctor's office where tanks of gas were exploding all the time.
Whoa.
If you want no more nightmares, just go to helixsleep.com/crooked, take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you to a customized mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. They have a 10-year warranty, and you get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you will. Helix even has financing options and flexible payment plans, so a great night's sleep is never far away. Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/crooked. Pod Save America is brought to you by Athletic Greens. What's the worst, most unhealthy thing you've eaten recently? Tommy. I'm going to ask Tommy.
Like a birthday cake, and then...
I hate when Tommy pretends that he doesn't need help. I fucking hate it.
Oh, were you at my house not eating a birthday cake on my birthday?
Okay, yeah, birthday cake once a year. Yeah, well, give me.
Tommy's
you know
birthday.
What?
You know what?
You think
gone but not forgotten.
My friend Shomik sent me some odd but delicious pints of ice cream.
Yeah, he sent
we ate them.
He does that. He does that because he hates me. He wants you to eat more poorly because he feels.
I know.
He feels jealous of the discipline.
I think I gave you a more thoughtful present.
I forgot it was your birthday. When is your birthday?
Shamik's go-to, send someone some ice cream.
Nicer friends forget.
Hey, speaking of gifts, Athletic Greens sent me a little care package with
Me
their
too.
new branding, their new sweatshirt.
Emily
Looked
loves
pretty
the
cool.
sweatshirt.
Actually,
She's
Hannah tried
wearing
to
it.
take it from me.
Yeah, same.
I was like, no.
Yeah, and I'm like, isn't it a little big?
There's also
Big
a cool...
sweatshirt. She didn't care.
There's a container they sent for the Athletic Greens that is actually a lot easier and nicer to look at that you can put in your fridge instead of the bag.
And there's a towel, and
like a
there's
golf
a
towel.
pair of socks maybe you could be wearing.
Yeah, it was sort of a random pack.
But I loved it.
Yeah.
Don't you wish you could cancel that unhealthy thing that you ate with magic?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, magic doesn't exist. Boo, but we've got the next best thing, Athletic Greens.
Okay.
Despite eating a balanced diet, getting all the nutrients you need for your body to thrive can be difficult. But here is one thing. If you're looking for one product that has as much high-quality nutrients in it as possible, boom, Athletic Greens is for you. They packed anything you'd ever want from nutrition in here, and you don't even have to boil some random plant from the grocery store. If you're looking for peak performance or better health or need more nutrients in your diet, covering your bases with Athletic Greens makes investing in your energy, immunity, and gut health each day simple, tasty, and efficient. What's more, it's lifestyle friendly whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. And right now, Athletic Greens has got you for year-round immune support by offering our audience a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. 41.6% of adults in the United States are vitamin D deficient. Don't be D deficient. While more and more studies are surfacing around its direct impact on supporting the immune system, adding Athletic Greens to your daily routine is a great way to support that D production.
Mm-hmm.
Simply visit athleticgreens.com. No one's going to bite? Okay. Simply visit athleticgreens.com/crooked.
Obviously, nobody wants you to bite on the D. That's
Jesus.
Of course not.
I've never seen a softball quite like that.
Simply visit athleticgreens.com/crooked and join health experts, athletes, and health conscious go-getters around the world.
When did we get in here? Yesterday?
Who make... I know, it's been a fucking week. Simply visit athleticgreens.com/crooked and join health experts, athletes, and health conscious go-getters around the world who make a daily commitment to their health every day. Again, simply visit athleticgreens.com/crooked and get your free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today. Pod Save America is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. If you ever had to look for a job, you know that it's no picnic. Pick 2 to 3 pain points that resonate the most with you.
Stigmata.
You start stress eating.
Okay.
Love it. Your eyes...
Wow.
I was asking if you have one.
Fuck you. Keep going. Anyway, ZipRecruiter. They're going to need, for example, if you're trying to find a gay, funny in small doses host for your podcast, because he quits because of the insensitivity of the straight bros he's hooked his fucking life raft to.
It's gone pretty well for you so far.
That was good.
Anyway, if you're like us and you're looking for a new co-host, ZipRecruiter knows that the general experience of looking for a job is pretty sucky, just like that comment I made to Lovett. That's why they figured out a way to make it unsucky. When you sign up on ZipRecruiter.com/easy,
How would I know if I'm stress eating? Because I'm eating all the fucking time.
you can create a free profile. Then you get matched to great jobs. Plus
I
a
ordered
lot.
lunch while we were doing this.
I did too. Plus a lot more. ZipRecruiter will proactively pitch your profile to employers whose jobs match your experience. Unlike with other job sites, if an actual person from the company really likes what they see, they can personally invite you to apply to their job. Candidates who are invited to apply on ZipRecruiter are nearly 3 times as likely to get hired. This is according to 10,000 plus logged-in ZipRecruiter users who reported being hired through ZipRecruiter during September and October of 2020. Plus, if you like the job, you can apply to it and many others with just one click. It's that easy. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated job site in the U.S. So sign up for free on ZipRecruiter.com/easy today and experience the better way to find a job. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/easy right now to sign up absolutely free and put ZipRecruiter to work for you. All right, let's talk about the reaction to Biden's announcement. Healthcare workers and public health experts praised the vaccine requirements. Most businesses and unions welcomed the vaccine requirements. Most Americans are in favor of vaccine requirements. But most Republican politicians and pundits completely lost their shit after the speech. Full meltdown. Among other things, they called Biden an authoritarian, a tyrant, a fascist, and a rotting bag of oatmeal.
Who said that?
It's some asshole on Fox.
Wow.
Called him a rotting bag of oatmeal.
That's so vivid and mean.
I know. The Fox News chyron was, quote, Biden declares war on millions of Americans, so that was subtle. The Republican National Committee and almost 24 Republican governors have promised to sue the administration. And just to give you a sense of how this is playing out on the campaign trail, Ohio Senate candidate J.D. Vance called for mass civil disobedience, while his opponent, Josh Mandel, compared Biden to the Gestapo. Always something you want to do.
And he did it. He drove into the middle of a cornfield where he found a Trump sign in the middle of the night, and he stood in front of it with just headlights, I think, illuminating him.
I missed that.
He really did look like the Children of the Corn. Someone did a cut of the movie poster and him side by side, and it was uncanny.
Josh Mandel, one of the dumbest politicians alive.
I know we all hate J.D. Vance. That guy is worse.
But the thing about it,
Well, and it's also, there's some comfort to the fact that J.D. Vance J.D. Vance and like all of his big tech Peter Thiel money from California is losing to Josh Mandel, one of the dumbest politicians alive.
I think it comes, look, you can pretend to be dumb, but there's nothing like authentic.
That's true.
Political dumbness.
That's a good point.
Can't fake it till you make it when it comes to stupidity. All right.
Yeah.
Tommy, Axios ran a piece about the vaccine requirement responsibly titled America's Civil War of 2021 that credulously quotes an anonymous GOP congressional staffer saying, quote, every Republican in the country is salivating over Joe Biden igniting the vaccine debate. Should they be? What do we know about the politics of this issue?
So let's start by being nice. There's a Civil War comparison to be made, but it's probably 600,000 dead in the Civil War, 600,000 plus dead from COVID, not from the mandate.
That is true.
Why was that being nice?
I don't know. I'm just trying to be nice to Axios. I mean, I'm glad they preemptively elevated to Civil War status. I appreciate it. The interesting thing about that article is, did you guys notice that it actually enraged conservatives?
No.
They were very mad, hugely mad. There was an entire Fox News write-up of how mad they were via tweets.
If liberals are mad and conservatives are mad,
Looks like Axios.
Looks like we're doing something right.
No, because the conservative take was, how dare you call this a civil war? There was mass disobedience last summer over George Floyd, blah, 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 blah. So it's always like, I'm rubbing your glue.
Yeah, it's very much the same thing.
Yeah. So I think it is true that if you look at conservative media, this is now the thing they are all focused on. If you look at Ben Shapiro's Twitter feed, which I do every day, every morning, several times a day, he tweeted that he's vaccinated. He's in favor of nearly everyone he knows getting vaccinated, but he called Biden's mandate tyrannical, authoritarian, anti-science bullshit. So Ben is pro-vaccine, but he just doesn't want the government to do anything to help people get
I
there.
think that position does not count. That is not a real position to be pro-vaccine and anti-mandate. If you believe the vaccine is effective and necessary to protect the country, then you believe that it should be required, because that's what we've been doing with vaccines the entire history of the fucking country. They've all been required. There's a long list of vaccines you have to get before your kid goes to school.
Facts don't care about your feelings. If I don't support these mandates, and if my wife had a wet-ass pussy, I take her to the hospital.
My God.
All of these guys.
It is 11 a.m. and I was
11 a.m.
not ready.
I was
for
not
that.
either.
Not ready for that here on a Monday morning.
Look, there's a huge part of this Republican ecosystem that knows that half of the Republican base is now anti-vax. So this gives them like a fig leaf to offer to these guys. But like I think among the broader segment of Americans, but I think among the broader American public, there's recent polling that suggests that Americans will support these vaccine mandates. Gallup found 56% support employers requiring workers to get vaccinated. 61% support vaccine mandates for air travel. So we'll see. Now, position to be contrarian. Sorry. No, permission to be contrarian.
Granted.
Thank you both. Here's the thing that keeps me up at night. In 2020, the polls were way off, as we recall. One of the reasons was because during COVID, you had a bunch of liberals who were more likely to respond to surveys that skewed the data on the horse race. It also skewed data suggesting that the country was more in support of government intervention to stop COVID. I worry about that happening here, maybe. That's just a thing that's in the back of my head. Now, long run, the Biden people are probably thinking what really matters is getting this thing under control, getting the economy back, right? Like getting people back to work. Cases go down. We'll stop talking about this mandate stuff, but I don't know. It makes me worried.
Permission to be contrarian to your contrarian
Please.
take.
Ugh,
Okay.
just let me know when this wraps.
No, I think it's
Sorry,
a
let's
good,
go back to the
Nope.
anatomical discussion that you brought
it
up.
is
earlier.
I didn't.
It is a great point. I actually am concerned about it because I'm concerned about all polling these days since 2020. The one thing that's different with this is we have actual numbers of people who've gotten vaccinated in the country, and the number of people who've gotten vaccinated already would suggest that, of course, a huge number of that is a bunch of Republicans who've gotten vaccinated, right?
Yep.
And so, I mean, I do think this is your classic wedge issue for the Democrats, in that just about all Democrats support vaccine requirements, independents, a majority of independents, and like half the Republican base. One poll showed that 1/3 of Trump voters support a requirement. Steve Shale's super PAC that supports Biden, they did a bunch of polling in the swing states, and they found support for corporations requiring vaccinations is between 61 and 68% in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Now, again, that's corporations
Yeah,
requiring
it's a different
vaccinations, not quite the government, but it's a similar idea.
And also, time and again, we have found that like ideological concerns are very real and important, but also much more salient to people who think about politics all day, and much less to people actually being asked questions. They won't care about the outcomes. The other piece of this is, yeah, we don't know exactly what the polls mean, but as you know, Dan wrote a great message box about this. Everybody should check out message box about like this opportunity to kind of realign around vaccinated versus unvaccinated. And maybe this is one of those rare issues that can trump kind of party identification, especially when Republicans have spent so long turning the vaccine into an identity issue. Well, okay, there are a lot of Republicans who are now vaccinated. And the other piece of this is maybe the polls are wrong, and actually people are a little bit more unsure about these kinds of mandates. Let's make the argument. Let's see what happens if we're actually talking about this for a while.
Which is Dan's point, that
Yeah.
Democrats have not really
Played it.
engaged in the argument yet. And Tommy, you touched on this, but there's sort of a larger political issue at play, which is concerns about the pandemic right now are dragging down Joe Biden's approval rating, possibly more than anything else. If he doesn't end the pandemic, he's going to have a hard time getting reelected, and vaccinating more people is the fastest way to end the pandemic, right? So even if the polls didn't show that people were in favor of vaccine requirements, you'd want to put in place vaccine requirements to end the fucking pandemic, because that's the best way to make sure you get reelected.
Yeah, Joe Biden was elected on the promise of delivering competence in defeating the pandemic. Now, there's plenty of like bad punditry blaming Joe Biden for every single thing in the world outside of his control, right-wing misinformation, the Delta variant. But what it is true is that this will be that if he fails to successfully get us out of this, people will hold him responsible for it, fairly or not. The other piece of this is it is remarkable how quickly the kind of punditry around this issue moved past 1,600 people are still dying every day. Like, there is no ability for like political mainstream coverage to keep that as a present part of the debate. Like, it is immediately to blowback, immediately to the problem of what this will do for persuasion. It's also very difficult to persuade unvaccinated people to get the vaccine after they've been killed by COVID. They become an unreachable group of voters.
That's a tough argument to make.
There's also just like it's worked in the military since the Department of Defense announced that active military were required to get vaccinated. They did this on August 25th. The percentage of military members with one shot went from 76 to 83%. So it's working.
Worked in at the Department of Defense, worked at the VA. Dennis McDonough, VA secretary, was the first department to do it. It's worked there. It's worked at private companies like United and Delta. Lovett, what do you think led the Biden administration to embrace these requirements now as opposed to weeks or months ago?
Yeah, I mean, Jen talked about this on Friday because she was asked because originally, many months ago, Joe Biden said he was opposed to this. A few months, a little while after that, there was Jen was asked about this, and she said that was not their role. They gave three answers. One, they were surprised at continued resistance. I think we all are. I think we talked about this many times. We knew that there would be holdouts. I am surprised that I'm not surprised that there is a hardened group of right-wing people that have not gotten it, and I'm not surprised that there's some hesitance in the broader population. I'm surprised by how much it has been sustained. Even after approval, they talked about the fact that they had hoped that full approval for the vaccines might move some people. It seems like it's helped, but not enough. And the third piece of this is we're in the middle of yet another surge. Maybe it's peaked, but immune-compromised people, vaccinated people, children, they are all put at risk because of unvaccinated people. And the way Biden said it at the speech, I thought was great. We have to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated people. That is, I don't think it's more complicated than that. The approval, it feels like an eternity in politics, but it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. One argument from a few of the slightly saner Republicans that's getting picked up by some of the nonpartisan media is that Biden's vaccine requirement and his decision to specifically call out the unvaccinated in his speech will only harden opposition to getting to the shot. The Associated Press headline was Biden's war on the unvaccinated. Not too much different than the fucking Fox chyron. And Jake Tapper said, I don't think scolding is the approach. What do you guys think of that, Tommy?
I think it will probably harden some people, harden some opposition, but their bet is that for every Josh Mandel who drives into a cornfield and like films himself yelling, there's an even greater number of people who haven't gotten vaccinated because like didn't have the time, or they're young, or they were on the fence, or they were nervous, and now they have to, right? And so like that's the bet. There's a big chunk of these 80 to 100 million people, I think they say this order covers, will just decide it's not worth fighting this. Let's just get vaccinated.
The other piece of this is, it's a mandate. It's not about persuasion. That's the whole point of it.
I can't understand why people don't get that part.
It's really wild.
It's so wild to me.
It's also people who have, kind of laid at Joe Biden's feet the failure to persuade people who are completely consumed by right-wing media. And now when they move beyond the persuasion, they blame him for moving beyond persuasion and not sticking to the old tactics that weren't working, as if these sort of pundits have some third way to kind of get hardened opponents to go for this. It's very silly.
Hardening the opposition is like a phrase that people are saying, and I don't really know if they know what it means. It's like, find me the unvaccinated people out there who are still considering getting their shot after half a year, but now they won't because their employer's requiring it. Who are those people?
Yeah,
I was thinking about it. I was about to go to Rite Aid, and then fucking Joe Biden announced that. No, now I'm not doing it. My opposition is hardened.
My opposition is hardened. Yeah, I do think, like, broadly speaking, you can divide the unvaccinated into kind of two, and this you have to kind of blur your eyes, but there's two big groups. There's like ideological
basket of deplorables.
Yeah, sure.
He wrote the line for Hillary.
I think he did.
They're ideological objectors, like they're right wing. They're hardened already. They're hardened against Biden. They're hardened against the vaccine. Like some of them still will get the shot because of this mandate, because like they may do like blood and soil on social media, but there's golf clubs at the back of that F-150, and like they're not gonna like follow JD Vance to the Rue de Rivoli and start pulling up cobblestones. Like they're not going to do Les Mis with him. He's a venture capitalist. Nobody knows who he is except people in DC. So not worried about that. I mean, look, crazier things have happened. But beyond that, like, okay, you look beyond the right wing, and like there are hesitant people, and like I do think sometimes, people are people, and it's not a decision not to get the vaccine. Like I do think you see in some of the kind of data and some of the kind of interviews, like a decision to not decide. And this forces some people to make a decision. And the other piece of this, on top of getting some hesitant people off the fence to kind of like treat this as a deadline. There's leave to get the shot. There's leave in case you have side effects. And I do think that like a big, that people that have decided not to get it so far, some of them are worried about losing hours, losing their job because of side effects.
Yeah. And that's a really good point. I mean, this immediately gets covered from a political perspective. And so, there's a tendency to treat the unvaccinated as a bunch of right-wing Republican Trump supporters. And that's just not the case. And I think the requirement is going to have the biggest effect on people who aren't those right-wing Trump supporters who are unvaccinated, which are, like you said, Tommy, a lot of young people, a lot of black and brown people, a lot of people who aren't engaged in politics at all and are just like, I'm not quite sure.
There's a ton of totally understandable vaccine hesitancy. This will push those people. Let me tell you one use case, though, from a far-right MAGA person. You guys remember Dr. Ronnie Jackson, White House doctor, famous pill pusher turned MAGA idiot, congressman in Texas. Ronnie was on Fox News this morning, and he said the only reason he got vaccinated was because he knew that Nancy Pelosi wouldn't let him travel abroad on Codels until he got vaccinated. So in his attempt to go on Fox and Friends and rant about vaccine mandates, he accidentally made a great argument for why they work.
Great
even
case,
with the
Dr.
hardcore
Ronnie.
MAGA.
Wild.
Thank you, Ronnie.
It is so wild watching him scream on Fox. He was the most mild-mannered physician.
Guy like barely raised his voice.
He was just screaming on Fox about vaccine mandates.
Yeah, it's almost
wild.
Almost as if we have a broader set of incentive structures on the right that turns people with ambition and a lack of moral courage into genuine monsters on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But even like the Ben Shapiro, like the Daily Wire, whatever the thing he works for, like they said they're going to resist, they're going to sue, they're going to, like, I guarantee you half that office, 75% of that office is vaccinated.
To the barricades.
To the barricades.
Also, again, this is not about getting I mean, I don't think anyone thinks that. Sorry,
No.
I don't believe anyone thinks that these vaccine requirements will get every last person vaccinated. But some is better than nothing. And again, like they're we're not going to hit herd immunity now, but just getting that 54% up to 60% to 65%, like that's going to have a huge effect on saving lives and ending the pandemic.
And sure, will there be some headlines that say Biden vaccine mandate hardens opposition amongst insurrectionists? Sure.
Yeah, Harlan Hill will be upset. He might go to Philly again to fight.
What do you guys think the best way for Democrats to talk about this issue is? Gavin Newsom, Terry McAuliffe have made it centerpiece of their campaigns. You can imagine Democrats in the midterms doing that as well. Like, what's sort of the best way to talk about this on the trail?
I don't know yet. I'm sort of wary of using the California race as an example because Gavin Newsom's problem was the Democrats either didn't know there was a campaign or they weren't motivated to vote despite receiving a ballot in their mailbox at home. He needed to get a whole bunch of Democrats to wake up and vote. And I think the biggest gift to Gavin Newsom was Larry Elder becoming, the front runner on the Republican side. So we'll see. I think, like, in some ways, but the best thing that happened to candidates in 2022 is a better economy and just a less delta in the world. And Biden has done the hard work for them in sort of pushing to get us there.
Look, if the debate over vaccine mandates is still among the most salient issues in November of 2022, we have big fucking problems.
That's true.
Yeah.
But, even right now, as we're making this argument, like, it seems pretty, like, turning the temperature down and saying, we're just trying to protect people's health and safety. Like, we have all kinds of vaccine mandates. It's not that big a deal. And everyone's kind of overreacting. We're just trying to keep people safe, and all these people are making it about politics.
I know. Before I dig into polling, I always think like what makes most sense to me, and I thought that we have all kinds of vaccine mandates, and we always have, made a lot of sense. And then, sure enough, when I read Dan's message box, Navigator research tested a message that was just that. Vaccines have been required for children for decades. This is just another one of them. They tested that against a Republican message that was, vaccine requirements are a violation of personal freedom and everyone should have the choice to decide whether they want one or not. And the message about schools requiring vaccines forever beat out the Republican message by 17 points. So I do think that's something. Turning the temperature down, I think, is a good way to put it when you're out on the trail. Pod Save America is brought to you by Cariuma, the sustainable sneaker brand creating cool, seriously comfortable sneakers in a way that's better for you and the planet. Here at Pod Save America, we found ourselves with an unofficial team shoe, the Aka. It's a classic low-top sneaker that comes in organic cotton canvas and ethically sourced suede. We heard a recent waitlist reach 26,000, but according to our friends at Cariuma, they've just been restocked. How nice is that?
Good for them.
You and the planet deserve a better sneaker. That's why Cariuma sources high-quality, planet-conscious materials to create something ultra-comfortable and good-looking. Aka comes in several colors, including popular neutrals like sand, gray, off-white, and camel. If you're on Instagram, this probably isn't the first you're hearing of these sneakers. Maybe you've seen a few fans of note like Helen Mirren, John Hamm, Gabrielle Union, and Chris Martin supporting their favorite pair. Have you seen that, Lovett?
Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Okay. As the weather changes, the materials you wear. Helen Mirren is wearing Cariumas.
Damn, Helen Mirren.
And I'm looking now at Tommy, who just put his foot up on the table, and those are some good-looking Cariumas on his feet.
Yeah, no, I love these. They're super comfortable. They also, they're very breathable.
Yeah.
Because I'm not wearing socks. I don't intend to put any on.
Okay, stinky feet.
Yep.
As the weather changes, the materials you wear should evolve with the season. Along with classic canvas, Cariuma sources a premium ultra-soft suede from LWG certified suppliers, offering an ethically sourced alternative for fall and winter. Hopefully you can get an ethically sourced alternative for spring and summer too.
Yeah.
Be nice to do it all year round.
Summer's right around the corner.
I got a question for you guys. Depending on the season, do you stick with your canvas sneakers or do you switch it up with suede or leather?
We live in Los Angeles. There's one season.
That's true.
Pilot season.
That's a great joke.
Also, doesn't suede get screwed up easy? Or do they protect them?
I'm sure they protect them with ethically sourced protections here.
Yes.
I go canvas all year round. That's just my deal. Cariuma ships all their sneakers free and fast in the USA and offers worldwide shipping and 60-day free returns. They deliver right to your door using single-box recycled packaging. Now, for a limited time, Pod Save America listeners can get an exclusive 15% off your pair of Cariuma sneakers. Go to cariuma.com/crooked to get 15% off. That's cariuma.com/crooked for 15% off, only for a limited time. Pod Save America is brought to you by Brooklinen. We've been in this year together. That says deep sigh, so I tried to do my best Favreau sigh.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Good.
You've done better.
And you deserve comfort that's all yours. If
I think
you're
the
going,
problem is that the reed on either side of the side didn't feel like it had the same intention as the sigh. You know.
Interesting. If you're going back into society and kind of forgot how, Brooklinen has a soothing starter kit of loungewear that feels like the security blanket of their ridiculously comfortable bedding in socially acceptable wearable styles. Tees, tanks, and sweats. Just get the new you and your new lease on a life of leisure.
I almost wore those sweats to the office.
They're great sweats.
You've been wearing sweats to the office a lot.
Well,
lately.
these have a button.
Oh, that does. Okay, there's still sweats.
What's wrong with wearing sweats? What are you?
Just saying. Oh, you're wearing sweats too. All sweats to the office.
And a Windsor over here.
Brooklyn ones are good.
They are. They're very comfy. Very comfy. Brooklinen has been listening to what we all need most, and they responded with ultra comfy loungewear at a fair price.
You know what I don't understand?
What?
At some point, somebody was like, I had this idea. Let's pave the Los Angeles River. And everyone was like, yeah, go for it. Pave the river.
I don't know.
Where did that come from?
Just
No,
something
not
on
about
my mind.
Brooklinen.
Just
Did
thinking
you watch
about
The
it.
Terminator last night? Doesn't he like that?
Just
hell
thinking
is
about
going
it.
on?
Like, how did nobody say, wait, red flag in that one? Don't do that. Don't pave the river.
I don't know. I was looking for a good book about the history of Los Angeles recently.
Oh, what to put on your shelf and leave there?
Yeah. Do you need trying to get your monitor a little bit higher?
you get Tweet Deck a little
I'll
closer
have
to
you
your
know, I
eye
just
level?
started and finished a book.
Oh, what was it? The children's book to your
Yeah.
son?
No. It was
Pictures
not
of boats?
Everybody poops?
What book?
It's called How to Do Nothing by Jenny Odell.
How'd it go?
All you have to do is put down the book.
It's a great book. I highly recommend it. And it led me, if you read the book, you'll understand, to want to know more about the place where I live and the history of the place where I live.
Got it. Did you read it in bed on your Brooklyn and sheets?
They have been listening to what we all need, and they responded with ultra comfy loungewear at a fair price. This loungewear has classic cuts and no zippers. That's an all cap. So apparently zippers must be a thing that people hate.
The Amish do.
For limitless comfort that you can pull off in a real life, so you can luxuriate in coziness all day. Bonus points. Brooklinen offers bundle deals on loungewear so you can get more comfort for less money. And if you're looking for more ways to enhance your comfort, check out Brooklinen's candles, eye masks, and accessories to properly celebrate your chill. There's a reason Brooklinen has over 75,000 five-star reviews and counting. Please share more about any Brooklinen products you've received. No, we've done enough, thank you. I
love
got
my sheets,
beddings, sheets, towels.
Yeah.
It's all the best. Now get the loungewear. There's no limit of things Brooklinen products that you can get. So go on, get comfortable, and get it for less at Brooklinen. Go to brooklinen.com and use promo code CrookedMedia to get $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's BROOKLINEN.com and enter promo code CrookedMedia for $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's brooklinen.com, promo code CrookedMedia. Pod Save America is brought to you by Policy Genius. Policy Genius can't help you refresh your cool weather wardrobe for autumn, but they can help you shop for another kind of coverage, life insurance. Policy Genius makes it easy to compare quotes from over a dozen top insurers all in one place. Why compare? You could save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. That's $1,300 or more per year on life insurance by using Policy Genius to compare policies. The licensed experts at Policy Genius work for you, not the insurance company, so you can trust them to help you navigate every step of the shopping and buying process. That kind of service has earned Policy Genius thousands of 5-star reviews across Trustpilot and Google. And eligible applicants can get covered in as little as a week, thanks to an award-winning policy option that swaps the standard medical exam requirement for a simple phone call. What a great trade.
Pretty good.
Someone's not coming to your house giving you a full medical exam. You just get on the phone.
No.
You say, hey, I'm fine.
Like turn your head and cough on the phone.
Yeah, that's... This exclusive policy was recently rated #1 by Forbes Advisor, higher than options from Ladder, Ethos, and Besto. Getting started is easy. You head to policygenius.com. In minutes, you can work out how much life insurance coverage you need and compare personalized quotes to find your best price. When you're ready to apply, the Policy Genius team will handle the paperwork and scheduling for free. Policy Genius doesn't add on extra fees. Head to policygenius.com to get started right now. Policy Genius, when it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. Before we go, we should talk about Saturday, which was the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. President Biden and Vice President Harris commemorated the day at different events. George W. Bush gave a speech in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and then attended a name-reading ceremony at Ground Zero with the Obamas and the Clintons. Donald Trump was also invited but declined to attend. Instead, he told some New York cops and firefighters that he's probably running for president again, and then flew off to Florida where he provided running commentary at a pay-per-view boxing match with his son. Here are the two geniuses previewing the fight.
We're here at Hard Rock in Florida, and we're going to have hopefully a very great night with a lot of great champions, and they're going to be, for them, they're going to be having a good time. I wouldn't want to do it. A lot of people wouldn't want to do it, but they look like they're going to have a good time. I just saw a couple of the fighters, and they love doing this stuff. So we're going to watch Evander and Vietor. We're going to watch Anderson Silva, Lito, right? Lito is fantastic. We're going to have some fun tonight.
Guys, I think this is going to be a lot of levity at the end of a rather somber day.
That was my favorite.
I love people who say things like that. Like I love people who are like, I love humor. There's going to be a lot of levity. Don Jr. just can't talk.
I kind of want that music to be playing in the background every time Trump talks. From
Yeah, Trump is actually spinning. It was weird.
What do you guys think the reaction would have been if Barack Obama or George W. Bush or basically any other politician in America skipped a 9/11 ceremony to host a pay-per-view boxing match? Tommy, you think that would go over well?
It's just like there's been all these moments along the way where he just defies the normal laws of political gravity, and it's so frustrating, right? Like calling McCain, making fun of him for getting captured and tortured was one. Remember that? Skipping the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I seemed like a moment that should have pulled him down. Like a Democrat did it.
Suckers and losers. Remember what he called the
Suckers and
troops
losers.
after in World War II at the D-Day Memorial.
Yeah, no, it's super bleak how close it's still. It just reminds me every time I see how awful and ridiculous it is. It's like, man, this fight should be easier.
Yeah,
It just should be a little bit easier.
I just can never tell if this is just a unique to him skill or ability or built-in advantage, or if it's just that a Democrat would face the unrelenting assault from Fox News and the conservative media ecosystem that he just doesn't have to deal with.
I think he's also successfully worn us all down.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Like
true.
There are no expectations for him anymore. He's always going to do the worst thing and be the worst person. It's just baked in already. So when he does something like this, you're like, yeah, of course that's what he's doing on 9/11.
Yeah, and as always, it is also like it is an extreme example of a larger trend in Republican politics and in the way the media covers Republicans and Democrats generally, which is we only ask responsibility of people we expect to be responsible, and so all you have to do is signal and portray yourself as profoundly irresponsible and valueless, and nobody expects anything else from you, and the media just moves on and bakes it into the kind of stock price of your politics.
Now, during the many hours of commentary, Trump did not say anything too new or outlandish, but he did have a message for one of your favorite Pod Save America hosts. Let's listen.
Congratulations. You know, Vietor, your stock was very high, but your stock is even higher tonight.
I'm gonna have that as my ringtone.
For those confused, the boxer's name is Vitor Belfort, who beat Evander Holyfield, who's 58 years old. This is the most washed-up fight of washed-up people. I would rather watch Jake or Logan Paul fight whatever fucking sentient being will get in the ring with them.
They let Holyfield in the ring.
Holyfield hadn't fought since 2011. It's a long time ago.
Was he involved in some sort of ear incident?
Was it? Did Tyson bite his ear off?
Was it his ear?
I believe.
Whose ear
so.
did he bite? I don't remember boxing in the 90s.
Yeah, Mike Tyson was the ear biter. But
Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield.
It was.
It was okay. It was. I remember
that. He did it twice. It was in 1997.
He got 2 bites of the ear. Fool me once.
The thing about 2 bites of the ear.
The thing about Tyson is, no, it's the same match.
Oh, same match. I see.
The thing
Because I gotta say, if somebody
what made him go back?
Yeah.
And when Tyson was asked about that,
you
he
eat
said,
Evander Holyfield's ear. 30 minutes later, you're hungry again.
Oh my God.
Tyson was
doesn't make any sense.
Tyson was interviewed about it and said, "Why'd you do that?" And he said, "Because I wanted to kill him."
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It's
very clear.
Back to Trump skipping the 9/11 ceremony with all the other living presidents. Lovett, what do you make of Trump choosing to visit with the cops and firefighters instead?
I like, for whatever reason, the second I saw that, I sort of made a connection to the fact that right now the LAPD is suing against vaccine mandates. I think he sees.
Oh, interesting.
I think he sees white cops and firefighters as sort of a part of his base and a group of people that are on his side, and so he's on their side, and he likes that as part of his sort of authoritarian choir.
Yeah, I feel like he's also setting up the populist dichotomy again, right? Like, he doesn't want to be part of the elite club. There's the Obamas and the Clintons. They're doing the official ceremony. I'm with the real people here. I'm
sick of this clubby 9/11 memorialization.
Right? Like, that's the official thing. I'm going to do something different because that's what he's trying to do.
But even the pull aside with the cops and the firefighters, I think he was ranting about Biden and Afghanistan and the election lie, and he just talks about himself.
Well, and so he got a question about 2024 during that pull aside, and he said, "I know what I'm going to do, but I'm not supposed to be talking about it yet from the standpoint of campaign finance laws, but I think you're going to be very happy." Should Trump start being treated as a presidential candidate again?
I mean, he's just skirting campaign finance law, right? And he just doesn't want to officially announce.
Yeah, which is whatever. That's not a special thing for him. That's what they all do. But yeah, he's running for president. He's the front runner for the Republican nomination.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, well, Politico told me a couple weeks ago that it was because of Afghanistan that Trump was now deciding to run for president.
Was it Politico or the Washington Post?
It was a bunch of outlets took, I'm sure, Jason Miller on background saying that the reason Trump is now deciding to run. No, actually, Jason Miller was on the record. A bunch of Trump aides were quoted saying that, Afghanistan is what really tipped the balance for him, and now he's going to run. As if he wasn't always going to run.
So as Trump says this, and he's been dropping a lot of hints, this is probably the most forward he's been. There's a new CNN poll out that has 51% of Republican voters saying that the party has a better chance of retaking the presidency if Trump is the nominee. 49% say the party would be better off with a different nominee. That's actually closer than I would have thought. What do you guys think? Is this still Trump's party, or is this a party that wants Trump-like politicians?
I really actually I'm trying to understand the kind of arbitrage between the bigger majority that thinks he should be the nominee and then the smaller majority that would like to see somebody else.
Well, there was another question. Do you think he should be the leader of the party, which was in the 60s? That leader of the party was, I guess, a little slightly different for people than nominee.
Well, right. Well, so there's leader of the party, but then just sort of there's continuing polling about who the nominee should be, and he leads those by a large margin. So it's a sort of odd. What I have a feeling it is just an outlier poll, actually.
What did you think, Tommy?
I just sort of think it kind of doesn't matter because if he runs, he wins with that number, and he scares everybody else out of the race. Because Ron DeSantis knows it's political suicide to upset the MAGA base by running against Herr Trump. So
that's exactly where I am too, and that's why Lovett, that answers your question, because I think you could add up the percentages of all the other candidates in those polls and get them to be close to Trump if you had, I don't know, plus all the other candidates, and it would be close to that 51-49. But again, when you actually run the race,
right,
you're going to have to face the same thing that they all did in 16, that Rubio did and Christie did. No one wants to be the one to go after Trump, because then DeSantis goes after Trump, Trump kills DeSantis, and then Kristi Noem is the new front runner, right?
And the other thing too is it's as
going to be the nominee.
As bizarro Trump would say, Joe Biden, don't judge him against the almighty, judge him against the alternative. It's all fun and games to think, oh, of course, yeah, I wish there was another alternative to Trump. But when push comes to shove, there's going to be 7 other people on that stage, and they're all going to be mini Trumps and much worse than him because they're going to be doing an impression of him.
Or you got like Bill Weld throwing worse punches than Evander Holyfield or something, like some washed politics.
I mean, it's going to be worse than 2016. In 2016, you had a bunch of them that like belatedly started taking on Trump. They have now built an entire party that is a cult around Donald Trump. It is the reason for existence of the party. There was another question in that CNN poll, like how important is it to being a Republican that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, and 60-something% of people said it was one of the most important reasons that they're a Republican, is to worship Donald Trump and believe that he won the last election.
Yeah, I think it's like a kind of done deal. Trump is now the kind of like the brand. Republicanism is the operating system or like the engine underneath it, but that's not what's public facing. Like you don't realize it's like Unreal Engine in video games. Like you don't realize you're playing on a Republican game because the brand is Trump. You have bought a Trump game.
Interesting.
So is he Big Sur?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, what is that? I'm trying
What?
to...
Is he Big Sur? What
No.
OS are we?
What?
Republicans
Wow.
are Big Sur?
Unreal Engine is a kind of let's just move on.
One of the most notable moments from the weekend's 9/11 events came during George W. Bush's speech, when the former president basically compared the 9/11 hijackers to the Trump supporters who stormed the U.S. Capitol. Here's a clip.
And we have seen growing evidence that the dangers to our country can come not only across borders, but from violence that gathers within. There is little cultural overlap between violent extremists abroad and violent extremists at home. But in their disdain for pluralism, in their disregard for human life, in their determination to defile national symbols, they are children of the same foul spirit, and it is our continuing duty to confront them.
Trump folks weren't too happy about that part of the speech. Don Jr. shared a tweet calling Bush the worst president ever. What'd you guys make of Bush's comments?
First of all, like children of the same foul spirit. Like, man, I'll tell you. You know what? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I still fucking hate this guy, and I am like the kind of ponderous
Flashback to like I feel like growing up, right?
Rhetorics.
That was I like came of age during the Bush presidency, and it was so like he just still talks the same way. It's the same speech cadence, the same
and like,
writing.
Yeah, the children of a foul spirit. It's this sort of like vaguely kind of like Bible with a head injury, kind of like I can't. It really does give me kind of like these terrible feelings from the Bush years, and a reminder that while the people on our news are goldfish who every day wake up anew, unsure of what the day will bring, not remembering the day before, like those 8 years were terrible. He did terrible, terrible damage. He set the fire that led to Trump, and I don't want to give him any credit for being vaguely honest in kind of ponderous language now. I don't care.
You couldn't find even the most mild criticism of George W. Bush's record anywhere on the television during this event.
No.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
Not even the most mild. Hey, maybe we should also talk about. Let's just talk about it as a unifying speech.
Look, as if the Afghanistan news cycle, by the way, didn't just transpire.
Right.
Well,
there's been there've been a lot of important look backs, I think. 20 years after 9/11, we've had Afghanistan, drones, legal framework. Like maybe this take won't land well in D.C. or in New York, but like
let the sirens go at D.C. There's a take coming. This isn't gonna land well, D.C. Here it comes.
Get to your bunkers.
much like no, I can't. Cut that. Maybe there's a little too much civility after 9/11, guys. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
absolutely.
maybe we came together a little too much, and we didn't really have a lot of tough conversations about like how 9/11 happened, how it happened on George Bush's watch, all the things they missed, all the warnings about Al Qaeda, all the lack of information sharing. Like
everything that came after the Patriot Act, Guantanamo Bay,
the absolute
torture,
bloodlust, and desire for revenge that we all felt. But that's what brought us together.
Donald Rumsfeld is the centerfold in Vanity Fair.
Yes, and like I'm not just talking about the Iraq War. It was torture. It was Gitmo. It was half committing to Afghanistan for the first several years of the war. Like I'm glad that there are all these look backs that are happening. We're all like taking a tough look at the Obama presidency and drones and all these things. It's just like watching all these reporters talk about how moved and amazing it was to hear George Bush talk about January 6th. Like, I'm not that desperate to hear Republicans say that storming the Capitol was bad. We should also talk about all the other stuff.
I'm glad. Yeah, I should say, like, I'm glad he said it. Again, these things happen, and everyone's like, you either love George Bush again or you hate him. You know, it's like, no, good for him for saying that about the people who stormed the Capitol. That's great. Everything else is garbage.
Well, it's just, yeah, I do think, like,
you can have both thoughts in your head. You know,
I think back to that time, and it's like, you know, part of the look back is like, where'd that unity go? And it's like, you know what? It's absolutely true. We can have unity in this country at any moment as long as we all decide to be conservatives. That is what happened in the days after 9/11. I think sometimes, too, when someone like George W. Bush comes out of, retirement to say something true that should be easy to say, but it's actually hard because of our politics, there's this sort of, like, to quote George W. Bush, like soft bigotry of low expectations. And it's like this idea that if George W. Bush is willing to say this, well, maybe other Republicans will say it. Maybe things aren't so bad. Maybe Republicans aren't an unhinged fucking rearguard action against modernity.
I would say what it does is for a bunch of people who aren't fully engaged in politics or who only pay attention once in a while, like on the anniversary of 9/11, hearing George Bush call out the domestic extremists that stormed the Capitol does make those people think, oh yeah, if George W. Bush is saying that, maybe Republicans today are pretty fucking crazy. I think it has it helps.
I have no problem.
I think it helps.
I think that's totally fair. I am talking about the kind of pundit reaction.
Oh,
and
well, that is just
like the kind of desire for normalcy that this allows them to perform for a few hours.
Oh, that is truly gross. I think there's one more clip from.
Yeah, I do. Well, I just think it's important that, like, while obviously we made fun of Trump, there are people who I think approach the day with the sobriety and gravitas that it requires.
Can you imagine that Tony Blinken or Miley? How's that guy a general? Jesus. The other day, he said that the Bagram Air Force Base is not strategically important. I wanted to grab his, what do you have, 5 stars, 10 stars, 12 stars? He has so many stars that come up into his ears. I wanted to grab his stars, shove it down his throat and say, it's 400 miles from China, asshole!
Rudy doing the old, it's 5 o'clock somewhere speech prep. It's just like, that was...
What a 20 years it's been for Rudy.
Remember that video from like 10 years ago of David Hasselhoff completely shit-faced trying to eat a hamburger on the floor?
Yes.
That's what that reminded me of. And it's kind of one of those things where you're like, it's jarring, it's kind of funny, and then you're like, that guy needs some help.
Yeah, no, it's very sad.
He is a disaster.
People should
and
keep
this
him
was
away
like
from
solemn,
microphones and televisions.
This was like Maggie Haberman was tweeting, this used to be like a really solemn event for 9/11 families or first responders or people impacted by this. Now it's like getting live streamed by Steve Bannon, and Rudy's doing like blackout roast comedy. Like, where's like, what's happening?
It's not great. It's not great. That's it. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Ron Klain, for joining this program. I'm sure.
Thanks, Ron.
I'm sure you'll do it again.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Rudy. Thanks, George Bush. Thanks, Vander Holyfield. Thanks.
Children of a foul spirit.
The one I wrote down was defeated the designs of evil.
It's
always about evil. It's always good versus evil. There's no introspection.
But it's also
it's just Gerson all the way
Gerson,
down.
yeah. It's a very specific kind of overridden because defeated evil is fine. I don't know what designs of is getting you, but it's a cadence thing.
Yeah.
They love that kind of lyrical cadence.
If you want us to do George W. Bush speech analysis, we're here all week.
I'm all about celebrating the people on Flight 93 who prevented another attack. Like all of it is. It was good that Bush got up there and like told the troops we're grateful to them and everything else. But man, does that guy sand down every issue into black and white? It is wild.
That's his deal.
Yeah,
that's his deal. That's what he's known for.
Yeah, it's his Thunder Road.
Oh yeah, you're with us or against us? Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Axis of Evil.
Famously.
Axis of Evil. That was something that really set things in a great place, in a great direction.
I do like the people just like celebrating Bush for bringing back civility, and then I think back to 2002 when the Republicans ran against Max Cleland, who had lost 3 limbs in Vietnam, and called him soft on terror because he didn't want to get ban unions in the Department of Homeland Security.
Right, for that
what it was.
that crime.
Also very civil in 2004 to have a case Ken Mehlman going around the country passing gay marriage bans in the
cool.
Constitution. That was great. That was terrific.
Anyway, that's it for this episode.
Very
of
civil.
What was going on in the 2000s? We'll see you on Thursday on next Pod Save America.
Love It or Leave It is coming back. We're calling it Live or Else.
I like that.
We'll be back starting next week with live shows at the Arena Cine Lounge outdoors. You can go to crooked.com/events. We're going to do shows every Thursday night until we head to New York to do our big show at the Beacon. You can get tickets for all of these shows at crooked.com/events. It is vaxxed only, by the way, because...
it would be really funny if it wasn't.
So you're a tyrant like Joe Biden putting in a vaccine requirement,
Absolutely.
Huh? Okay.
Bullies you root for.
That's very exciting. I can't wait. We are only 1 day away from Election Day in California, where a few right-wing activists have forced a recall of Governor Gavin Newsom. If you're a registered voter in California, check your mail for your ballot, fill it out, return it by tomorrow, September 14th. You should have already gotten the ballot by now. Or, if not, go vote in person tomorrow on September 14th. If you've already voted, you're not off the hook. Remind every single California voter you know. Again, make sure you vote no on question 1 to stop a Republican takeover of California. And, of course, what I just said, not authorized by a candidate or a committee controlled by a candidate, because I was going to go for that workaround, but no siree.
Checking all the boxes.
No puppeteer strings from Gavin Newsom in here.